In the shadows of diplomacy and deep within the heart of the Middle East lies one of the most enduring and dangerous rivalries of our time: the conflict between Iran and Israel. A battle of ideology, influence, and survival. This is not just about two nations, it's about a region on edge, and the world watching nervously. Before we begin this in-depth documentary, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to support independent journalism. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories to light. Now dive up into the story, which is about Iran and Israel conflict about which whole world is nervous. To understand the present, we must return to the past. In 1948, Israel was established. Iran, then under Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, not only recognized Israel but maintained strong ties with it. Throughout the 1950s to 1970s, Iran and Israel were covert allies. Intelligence was shared, trade occurred, and Iran supplied Israel with oil. But all that changed in 1979 when the Islamic Revolution swept across Iran. The Shah was overthrown, and Ayatollah Khomeini emerged with a new theocratic regime. The revolution brought with it a deep hatred for Israel, which was called the Little Satan by Iranian leadership, with the Great Satan being the United States. The Iran-Israel rivalry simmered quietly for decades, with each side using proxies and intelligence rather than direct warfare. Iran began funding and arming Hezbollah in Lebanon and later groups like Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Palestine, all of whom oppose Israel's existence. Israel responded with covert operations, assassinations, cyber warfare, and strategic airstrikes against Iranian interests in Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon. By the early 2000s, Iran's nuclear program had become the focal point. Israel views a nuclear Iran as an existential threat. Iran insists its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes. In 2010, a cyber attack called Stuxnet, believed to be launched by Israel and the US, disrupted Iran's nuclear centrifuges. Since then, Iran's nuclear facilities like Natanz, Khondab, and Arak have repeatedly been targeted by sabotage and bombings. Between 2011 and 2020, tensions escalated. Israel carried out over 200 airstrikes in Syria targeting Iranian convoys, bases, and Hezbollah outposts. Israel targeted following cities named Damascus, Homs, Aleppo, Deir ez-Zor, and also carried strikes near the Iraq-Syria border. Iran lost hundreds of Revolutionary Guard officers in these strikes. Some of the most high-profile casualties include, in 2008, Imad Mughniya, who was the Hezbollah's military commander, was killed, and 2020, Iran's top nuclear scientist named Mohsen Fakhrizadeh was assassinated near Tehran in a sophisticated ambush allegedly by Mossad. In 2020, Qasem Soleimani, who was the head of Quds Force, was killed by U.S. drone which was coordinated with Israeli intelligence. Now the situation has become even more volatile. In recent years, the following attacks and incidents have shaken the region. From 2021 to 2024, Israel has launched following attacks. Number 1, airstrikes on Damascus International Airport. Number 2, explosions at Natanz nuclear facility. Number 3, assassinations of Iranian drone and missile program engineers. Number 4, bombing of weapons convoys near al-Bukamal, Syria. Number 5, naval attacks on Iranian oil tankers in the Red Sea. In return, Iran has retaliated by following attacks. Number 1, drone and missile strikes launched from Syria and Iraq by Iranian-backed militias. Number 2, attack on Israeli-owned ship named MV Helios Ray in the Gulf of Oman in the year 2021. Number 3, missile barrages fired by Hezbollah from Lebanon. Number 4, cyber attacks on Israeli water systems and infrastructure. In April 2024, Iran launched a massive missile and drone attack on Israel following the killing of top IRGC commanders in Damascus. Iran-backed attacks targeted these Israeli cities: Tel Aviv, Haifa, Ashdod, Negev region, and Golan Heights. Over the last 2 decades of indirect warfare, Israel has conducted more than 500 airstrikes on Iranian targets, as per Israeli sources. Iran and its proxies have launched over 1,000 rockets or drones toward Israeli territories or assets. Estimated casualties are as follows. More than 1,500 Iranian military personnel, mainly in Syria and Lebanon, are being killed. Thousands of Hezbollah militants are being killed. More than 200 Israeli soldiers are killed. Dozens of Israeli civilians are being killed by drones and rocket attacks. Over 2,000 Syrian civilians are also killed in these attacks. These numbers grow with each year, fueling anger and deepening the scars of war. This isn't just a local conflict, there are few important events linked with this conflict. Number 1, the US supports Israel politically and militarily. Number 2, Russia and China support Iran economically and diplomatically. No. 3, the potential for a nuclear escalation remains a grave concern for the world. Number 4, the conflict threatens global oil supply routes in the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is also known as the world's oil lifeline. Amidst the military strikes, proxy wars, and political showdowns between Iran and Israel, lies a narrow stretch of water that could decide the fate of the global economy. This narrow stretch of water is known as the Strait of Hormuz. Located between Iran and Oman, the Strait of Hormuz is just 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. But through this tiny waterway passes nearly 20% of the world's oil supply, over 20 million barrels per day. It connects the Persian Gulf with the Arabian Sea, and every day, giant oil tankers sail through it, carrying crude oil and natural gas from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, UAE, Kuwait, and Iran to the rest of the world. Iran considers this waterway part of its strategic domain and has repeatedly threatened to block it during periods of high tension. The threat isn't just theoretical. In recent years, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Navy has seized or harassed foreign oil tankers in the area. Naval confrontations with US and Israeli-linked ships have raised fears of a global oil crisis. Israel doesn't have direct access to the strait, but Israeli-linked tankers often pass through. And in a wider war scenario, Iran could choke the oil supply chain, driving up global prices and disrupting energy markets. This makes the Strait of Hormuz a flashpoint, not just for Iran and Israel, but for the entire world. One drone strike, one missile, or one wrong decision here, and the ripple effects would be felt across the planet. The war remains mostly in the shadows, but with every drone, missile, and strike, the shadows are creeping closer to the light. In June 2025, the long-standing shadow war between Iran and Israel exploded into its most direct and intense confrontation yet. On June 13, 2025, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, deploying over 200 aircraft, including F-35Is and F-15S, targeting nuclear and military sites across Iran, Natanz, Bushehr, Isfahan, and the heavy water reactor near Arak. Strikes reportedly killed senior IRGC commanders like Hossein Salami and nuclear scientist Feridun Abbasi, alongside dozens of others. Civilian infrastructure, residential buildings, and energy facilities also suffered significant damage, with at least 224 killed and more than 1,000 wounded in Iran. In response, Iran launched more than 150 ballistic missiles and over 100 drones at Israel on June 13 and 14. Targets included Tel Aviv, military bases, and civilian areas. Most were intercepted. Others caused damage and wounded 22 to 24 people. Iran's operation, code-named True Promise 3, aimed at military sites and airbases. On June 19, 2025, Iran fired a Sejal medium-range missile at Soroka Medical Center in Beersheba, injuring over 200 people and causing extensive damage. Iran stated its intended target was nearby IDF command and intelligence facilities at the Gavyam Technology Park. Israel retaliated with intensified strikes on Tehran, including the Arak reactor, as Defense Minister Israel Katz vowed to make Iran pay the full price. More than 224 people killed in Iran, at least 24 Israeli deaths, hundreds injured on both sides in these attacks till now. Israeli officials labeled Iran's supreme leader a modern Hitler, and openly discussed targeting him. US President Trump gave Iran an ultimate ultimatum to dismantle its nuclear program and hinted that decisive action could come within 2 weeks. On the other hand, Russia and China condemned Israel's strikes, urging for de-escalation. A wave of more than 1 lakh Iranians fled Tehran after repeated Israeli strike warnings. Fuel shortages, traffic gridlock, internet blackouts caused widespread panic. Hospitals, schools, power grids, and nuclear infrastructure in Iran were heavily damaged, raising international law concerns. June 2025 marked the most open and dangerous chapter yet in the Iran-Israel conflict. With hospitals hit, nuclear sites shattered, and world powers drawn deeper into the fray, the line between indirect war and all-out eruption has blurred, and the stakes have never been higher. In the end, it's not just governments at war, it's people who suffer. Until diplomacy rises above ideology, the flames of this conflict may continue to burn for generations to come.